Welcome to Between the Lines. It's Thanksgiving evening, and we appreciate you and your family for joining in this wonderful American holiday. I hope everybody got lots of turkey and they're feeling good or still eating or whatever. But we're lucky. We're joined by Congressman Chuck Fleischmann, and he's going to talk to us today about things going on in Washington and infrastructure bills and majorities and committees and everything that answers that you don't get very often. And we're going to do it one-on-one, and we're going to figure it out. Congressman, welcome. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Alan, you know I love the holidays.
You do love the holidays.
And Thanksgiving starts a great holiday season, which leads into Christmas, of course, which is very special. And then we get the New Year. That's the third of the holidays, and then you get into a new year. But I've always loved Thanksgiving. Family and friends get together. It's a time we give thanks to God for living in the greatest, freest nation in the world. And just a special day, and a special night. So thank you to everyone, and happy Thanksgiving.
And for me, it's always been the same. The Lions play at 1, and the Cowboys play at 4. For 40 years, it's been that way on things. So, sports is a big part of my son loves sports, and we're big on sports. But now we got a night game, too. So it's going to be a busy football day, turkey day, and our Vols are going to a bowl.
Outstanding. Yes, indeed. It's going to be great. Very proud of the Tennessee Vols this year. Yeah. Overcame adversity. Of course, we've been overcoming adversity now for 2 decades. But I want to make sure that we get to a good bowl. I'm just so proud of the team. Showed some great resilience, had some great wins, and
you make that trip almost every week up to sit up there and watch. And
I bleed orange.
But you graduated from Tennessee, although Illinois was orange too.
It was burnt orange and blue, but as we say here in East Tennessee, I love the Vols, and I come by it honest.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's great. Thanksgiving, a uniquely American day.
Yes, indeed.
You were mentioning earlier that the Canadians have one, but it's in October.
Theirs is in October. Abraham Lincoln gave us Thanksgiving.
How did that come about?
It's my understanding, obviously.
You weren't there, I understand.
I wasn't there, but it was, Alan was, indeed. Indeed.
Probably a little bit close,
Probably advising him, indeed.
He was a Republican.
He was a Republican, I was going to say, that's right. Founder of our party. But really at a time when our country needed healing, a greatly divisive time.
Yeah.
We're in divisive times now, but certainly not like then.
Yeah, we are all, every 10 or 15 years.
It happens. That's right. I can remember the 60s when we were bitterly divided. But Abraham Lincoln gave us that, and it's really withstood the test of time, but really transcends politics. It's just a time when families can get together and really give thanks to God, I think, first and foremost.
Well, that was my point, is that to have thanks,
yes,
you have to be thankful to somebody.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, he didn't say we're thankful for this or that, but I mean, it's in its own way, it's a religious holiday.
It is, and our great Judeo-Christian background in this country, I think, is so important. And that, of course, Thanksgiving is great. Christmas is very special. Easter is my favorite holiday, obviously, because because of the resurrection.
Sure.
That fixed it all.
Yeah.
But
it did fix it all.
Indeed. But be that as it may, we're going to enjoy Thanksgiving. My 3 sons are coming, which is great. It means a lot to me. Just have everybody together. When your sons grow up, it's great when you have little kids, and but when your sons grow up and they marry wonderful girls and their families, you have to learn to share. And that was difficult because I cook all day and get everybody together and love the in-laws, but sometimes they want to take them away. So.
Yeah, so clarification, we're taping a day early. So it's we're doing this show in advance of Thanksgiving, in anticipation of Thanksgiving. Tell us how things are in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem.
Washington right now, I'm working very hard for everybody. I never stop working hard on the Appropriations Committee. I vote all the time.
What committees are you on?
Well, of course, I'm Tennessee's appropriator in the United States House of Representatives.
Define it. Keep it simple.
That is the committee that handles all of the discretionary spending, keeping it simple, whether it's our great DOE missions at our national lab, Y-12 UPF, or cleanup, $7.2 billion worth of federal investment. I'm responsible for that.
Okay, that's Energy and Water.
Energy and Water Subcommittee of Appropriations.
Homeland Security.
Homeland Security. I am the ranking member, the highest top Republican.
Right.
That means I fund the wall. I fund ICE. I fund Border Patrol.
Has that committee become less important in a sense since the Democrats the Biden administration has de-emphasized a lot of those programs?
I'd say more important because we have to fight the good fight. Under President Trump, it was very easy. Build the wall, keep our borders safe and secure. Under Biden, not so much.
Yeah, I
so we're fighting the good fight. And of course, I have been put on a third key subcommittee, Labor, Education, Health, and Human Services.
We'll talk a lot about that one. That's one of the biggest committees, that in defense.
Yes,
two big committees.
The two biggies, they put me back with full seniority. And even though I'm in the minority.
That's like a third ranking member in the Republicans?
Indeed.
Second or third, that's fantastic.
So
Labor H, tell us a little bit about what it handles. I mean, I think it's important. You know, you're seen as the face of Energy and Water because of the plants and everything. But Labor H is huge. For you to be moved over and have 3 committees, that's huge. So I know the process pretty well.
It really is.
You've got, we understand labor and work and health. You have health.
Health.
How big is that?
It's massive. If you figure the NIH and the CDC, all of the health care that is not mandatory is in there. All the funding of education. We talked about our great
education
University
too? Wow.
of Tennessee, our great UT system. But Tennessee has other great systems as well outside of UT. So they've got a great junior college system that does well. With the free college now, but really, and then of course the labor part of labor funding or not funding. There's a lot of things that sadly I think the Biden administration wants to do through labor, through education and the like, that we will be able hopefully to fight the funding of. So it's not only the funding for, it's to keep the funding against.
Let me explain to our viewers.
The liberal agenda.
There is a Energy and Water committee that deals with policy and deals with direction.
Energy and Commerce.
Energy and Commerce, correct.
Yes.
But this is an appropriations committee that says, okay, we know what you want to do from the other committee, but we're going to decide how much money to spend and where we're going to spend it.
Absolutely.
That's why you're so important. So tell me this. How many people on each committee roughly? Just roughly. Labor has how many? 40-something?
Well, the Appropriations Committee has goodness gracious, probably about 60 members now.
Total.
And the Democrats have the majority of all committees because they've got the majority in the House.
But it's pretty close.
It's very close now.
Is it close on appropriations as well as in the overall?
It is.
Okay.
It is. But
so 32-28, something like that, 34.
Yes, but we still lose every vote in committee because they are very well disciplined.
I told somebody last week, and I apologize to my friend, if I got to go into the trenches and fight a war, I'm taking Pelosi with me. I'm not taking McCarty and those guys. With all respect for Kevin and those guys, but Pelosi's sticking to the end.
Well, unfortunately, you're right.
She gets things done.
And I give them a D grade, if not an F grade on policy, but an A grade on discipline. They are much better disciplined than we are. That's why they win these disastrous votes, as they did just last week, as they did the week before. And these are just votes that are bad policy. They're bad for America. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. They're fiscally irresponsible. They're taking our country in the wrong direction. It's big government versus freedom on our side. But darn it, they're good at what they do.
So you would say labor has there's 16 appropriations, so each committee would have half that amount?
There's 12 subcommittees on appropriations.
Okay.
I serve on 3.
Which is unusual.
Which is unusual.
Usually
in the
it's
minority.
2. Yeah.
You just get 2. Probably even when we go back in the majority, knock on wood, next time. And I chair. I'll be what we call affectionately a cardinal on the Hill, meaning a Republican chair or a Democratic chair of the subcommittee.
All right, for my Southern Baptist friends, I'm going to explain that.
Indeed.
Okay, I'm going to
who we
explain.
love dearly. I married one.
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
Me
indeed.
too. Me too. And the bottom line is, though, but to explain it, in Rome or in the Catholic Church and other things, you have priests, and then you have bishops, and then you have a certain level of about 180 cardinals, et cetera, that rule geographic. Rule is a bad word, but look over, administrate.
Oversee.
Minister.
Yeah,
to
minister.
Huge geographical area. So you've risen up in the ranks.
Yes.
The Congress the congressional people use those same models as Rome did, or in the county. So you're a cardinal, which makes you, where you go.
There are 12. The Appropriations Committee, which is one of the 4 A committees in the House,
right.
I would argue probably the strongest. And whether you're a Republican or Democrat, there was a time Tennessee had a Republican and Democratic member on appropriations.
Right.
Now it's just me.
Right.
So really, I look out for the 3rd District of Tennessee, but people from all across the state, all of our 95 counties, call me when it comes to appropriations.
I remember,
I
can't remember what it was, but the hospitals were calling you, everybody was calling you. I think it was COVID, early COVID.
Sure.
And everybody needed help, and they kept coming to you. I remember that. You were calling me saying, look, it's overwhelming.
Well, and that's also for the logistics side. I have one of the best staffs, I think, in all of Congress, not only at the local level, but in D.C., but at the local level, people were calling us because these very large federal programs were coming in, but nobody knew how to get things done. And whether it was banks or hospitals, they kept calling my staff from around the state saying, can you please help us, plug us in for PPE money or PPE help, PPP help. And we continued to help people throughout that hard time. I'm very proud of my staff for getting that done. I can take no credit other than I hired these wonderful people.
So you got these 3 committees. You start. When does the calendar? Just so people understand, you're going through the process now. You're going to get started again. We haven't passed a budget for next year.
We have not. Very important. Yeah. December the 3rd. Well, let me step back a little bit for our listeners. On October the 1st, the new fiscal year began. Since we did not have the ability to pass a budget in the House or Senate, we did what we call a short-term continuing resolution, basically passing things, not shutting the government down, but just passing things to December 3rd. The scuttlebutt in Washington,
which the way that works is that during the CR you can spend money based on last year's levels.
That's right.
But not on this year's level.
We got the Trump budget again. As I love to tell my Democratic friends, we are under the Trump budget, and we will be until another budget gets passed. Right. I told that to President Trump when I visited with him a few weeks ago. I got a smile, which is good. But seriously, the December 3rd date will probably get passed until February or March. Now, why is that not a good thing? Because you're getting almost into the middle of a new fiscal year. Right. So you get a new budget eventually if you can pass it, unless you get a year-long CR, which just basically replicates the year earlier. The problem is candidly, the needs of the country change, whether it's defense, whether it's education, you name it. Year to year, we need a new budget because the needs of the country change. If you don't get that, you get basically a cop-out, which is a continuing resolution.
We're going to take a break and come back and talk a little bit about the makeup of these House and Senate and where the challenges in a closed body lie. Like we know in the Senate, but the House has some too. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Always ready, always there. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
Roger Miller is a conservative and lifetime resident of Anderson County who has served as Sessions Judge since 2014. Judge Miller has adjudicated more than 30,000 cases, both civil and criminal, over the past 7 years. Roger is a graduate of Clinton High School, and he volunteers time coaching youth sports and serving as an instructor. A paramedic for 12 years, Roger worked saving lives at the Anderson County EMS, MedFlight 5, and Methodist Medical Center. In 2022, let's re-elect Roger Miller, General Sessions Judge.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see.
D-E-P-R.
Mental illness doesn't show up on a scale.
Bipolar?
Sorting out a mental health concern takes professional diagnosis and treatment.
Anxiety. I thought so.
If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support.
Hello, I'm District Attorney General Dave Clark. My fellow DAs and I successfully fought for new elder abuse laws and procedures that have police departments and agencies using improved tools to protect our seniors. Victims of elder abuse are often unable to recognize or report abuse themselves. They need your voice. If you suspect abuse, contact local law enforcement or Adult Protective Services. Let's work together to protect our seniors.
Ryan Spitzer has been a prosecutor in Anderson County since 2007, prosecuting more than 2,500 cases over the past decade. Ryan has been the Drug Task Force prosecutor for the past 7 years. Ryan donates time working with local nonprofits. A veteran, Ryan spent 6 years serving his country as an Army medic in the National Guard. Ryan is a family man who works hard every day to keep Anderson County families safe. Experience matters.
We're back on the set of Between the Lines. It's Thanksgiving evening, and I want to thank a few people. First, I want to thank Brian Hunt for sponsoring our show, a juvenile judge. He's finishing his first 8-year term, and he'll be running for re-election in May. I want to thank Circuit Court Judge Ryan Spitzer for his support, and General Sessions Judge Roger Miller, and we offer our condolences. Roger lost his mother last week, and it was very, very sad, but she was a wonderful, wonderful lady who just had a tremendous impact. Roger's parents owned Miller's Restaurant in Clinton, and it was like the meeting point. I'll never forget that championship banner in '98 they put up. They went to the game, and Tennessee beat Florida State, and they brought it back. So we're thinking about you, Roger. We're thinking about you and praying for you, right?
Absolutely.
Have you had a chance to talk to him yet?
I haven't. I'll put in a call for him. Thank you for telling me about that. To anyone who's lost a loved one,
it's tough.
It is very tough around the holidays. We're talking about the upsides of the holidays. Over the years, I think back, my mother, my father, my grandparents, my parents were older. Mom was born in 22, Dad in 25, and they were the babies of their family. So I grew up with Great Depression era aunts and uncles, and they were all gone, and I was an only child. So holidays have that little tinge of sadness.
What month did your mother pass away?
My mother passed away in April of 1977.
If you all that don't know that story, she got cancer when Chuck was 9 years old, and she died when he was 13 years old. So he was motivated, made his mother some promises, and you fulfilled them all. You stayed with it, and so we feel for you, Roger. Going back to Congress.
Yes.
Everybody knows who the senator from Arizona and West Virginia are. They're the lifeline in between.
Mansion and cinema.
Yeah, yes. We've seen Senator many times in the club, the Capitol Club. She was a House member back,
Yes, I know both of the senators very well. Senator Manchin's wife is actually the head of the Appalachian Regional Council, ARC, and does a very good job in many of our distressed counties in Tennessee. Right. We appropriate a lot of money for ARC, and has really, really helped a lot of people in those districts.
He's good. He's an old school guy too, right?
Yep. He is an old school Democrat, though. He's got that D in him. But I tell you one thing: he represents his state's wishes not to go down this path that the progressives and the socialists want to take us down. Big government. I mean, this reconciliation bill is poison with a capital P. some of the things. I mean, $80 million for additional for IRS agents. I mean, shocking. Every step, amnesty for illegals that even the Senate parliamentarian says shouldn't be in the bill. Every way you turn, higher taxes. So it's more government spending, more government taxes at a time when we're $30 trillion in debt. We've got to be a no vote on this.
But the Senate's not going to pass the bill that got through your house.
Not as it was passed.
But I mean, the normal method of operation on MO is they start out here. Joe West Virginia, Senator Manchin brings them down, battles them out. They cut it in half, then he supports it, and we go on.
It's going to be interesting.
What about Kristen? She's got Arizona. Is she up next time?
I believe so. Yes.
And Joe's not though, right?
Joe is not up. I don't think next time. I think
24?
the time. Yeah. Okay. So, but it's a very interesting dynamic going on right now. Other senators will weigh in. Senator Sanders, with whom I disagree on just about everything, is going to oppose the bill in its current form. Why? Because it's got those tax breaks for those northeastern states with bloated high property taxes. And this is one of the things at the local level.
Where is Senator Sanders from?
Vermont.
Okay.
So.
Oh,
Bernie.
Yeah, we're street people. You got to talk Bernie.
Yeah. But he's going to be against it because he does not want that relief in there that Schumer and the other Democrats want in to help out those northeastern states.
What? Give us 2 or 3 items in the bill that are most disturbing.
Many more IRS agents for absolutely no reason whatsoever to be more intrusive in the lives of Americans.
But I remember 30 years ago, they were very active. In the last 15 or 20 years, it just seems like the IRS is more technical, or they can do more electronically.
Well, we have several constituents that need their refunds, and that we've worked so hard to try to get, and they've been just very lethargic. But that's one part of it. Amnesty for about 2 million illegal aliens. Where does that come from? And where does that go? It goes to disaster.
Why 2 million? Why not 11 million?
Well, I don't know. Given the chance, they'll just keep going. I mean, when you've got an administration that is talking about, this is shocking, $450,000 to an illegal immigrant that they deem was improperly separated. Come on now. That should never, ever, ever be part of the American fabric. We will fight that. Other things going on. Tax increases on hardworking Americans and businesses. It's just a horrible.
What did the
bill.
budget office come back and say about it?
Interesting. It is not paid for. They came back and said, look, it's a fiction. Let's face it. Whether it was Obamacare or Dodd-Frank, 2 huge disasters. Once you get it, ladies and gentlemen, you never get rid of it. I voted to repeal Obamacare I don't know how many times. The problem is if they're allowed to get through reconciliation, this horrific, quote-unquote, social justice bill, bloated government, bloated deficits, we will never get rid of it.
Let me tell you the most popular part of the Democratic bill that transcends. If you don't make a lot of money, it transcends everybody, and that's the child tax credit. Mm-hmm. Senator Hager and others have talked. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that eventually it's not going to be there, and then families are dependent on that, and you're like throwing things out there that are temporary that they're going to get used to. Tell me about the $250 a month tax credit. Is it in the new bill?
Yes. Okay. And a lot of Democrats want to make that permanent.
Sure.
Again, misguided policies from a fiscal standpoint.
Explain the bill. I mean,
sure.
What's the purpose of it? It was to help people in COVID, but I think the senators.
The purpose of the bill was to put forth a radical left-wing Democratic agenda.
Okay.
Plain and simple. And you can say that's a partisan response everywhere you look. It's big government, it's fiscal irresponsibility, it's misguided tax policy, and it's bad for this country. And what's worse, what I have said about this, you look at the New Deal, you look at the Great Society, okay? We never got rid of that, and we've seen spending and deficits balloon. This will make those programs look paltry.
But $250 tax credit didn't come in under Biden.
Understood.
Okay, and the spending, a lot of the COVID spending came in under President Trump's administration because there was a need there. My question is, a $3,000, is that right, $250? Yeah, $3,000 tax credit. Now, understand, folks, it's not a deduction, it's a credit. This is cash, right? Even if you don't work, they're giving it out.
Yep.
I don't believe in it. But here's the problem. You work a staff job, you're a teacher, something, or any kind of staff job, you make $62,000 a year, and you're single, and you have 3 children, and you have a divorce or something, okay, and you're a single mother or a single dad. And now you're getting $750 a month to help with your bills. My argument is, I think it has value, but I think it's a socialistic thing too. But what happens is you start living $750, bigger Christmas presents, more stuff. We join this, we join that, and then all of a sudden we say, gone. I think that supports your point about it never goes away. That basically people are adjusting to their new lifestyle with this subsidized money. And that's how you do it. I mean, that's how socialism works. You give them what they don't. And
it's a creep. And it's a creep of big government policies. It's a creep of horrible tax policies, which basically disincentivize hard work. Let me get back to the basic fundamentals that I think our republic are founded on. I believe that as part of political freedom, you have got to have economic freedom, part and parcel. That's not just me talking, that's Ronald Reagan talking. What does that mean? We have to look at the fundamental function of what our great republic, not democracy, our constitutional republic is founded on. It's founded on limited government, where the federal Constitution says, look, we're going to protect people, defense for the common good, but we're going to defer to the states other things. What we have seen from the New Deal through the Great Society, now to the Biden bloated bureaucracy, whatever you want to call it, and I'm being kind, of big government, all the bees out there. Yeah. It's something that will take this country that is $30 trillion in debt. When I went to Congress a decade ago, we were $15 trillion in debt. Not good. Now we're $30 trillion in debt. The Democrats have no sense of fiscal responsibility. And what's going to happen, God forbid someday, we're going to continue to spend and borrow. People say, oh, it's the taxpayers. It's borrowing. It's like coming to the table. Here's a good example. You're maxed out on 3 credit cards. The last thing you would do is come to the table with a 4th credit card. Well, Biden and his crew, Schumer and Pelosi, are coming there with 5 new credit cards.
Not one, but 5 new credit cards.
Yep.
Tell me about the House. We have 2 Democrats in the Senate that are kind of holding up things because it's tied 50-50.
Yes.
And we already told how effective Nancy is at keeping. You look at those Democrat votes. Every single Democrat.
We lost them. We lost our moderates this week to Nancy.
Yeah, you did.
You're right. It was
Nancy made them an offer they couldn't refuse. That's what that's about.
Again, yeah. She is going to retire.
Talk about committee. Sure. She's going to what?
She's going to retire. When? She said, well, at the end of this term or before. She said that, okay? 4 years ago, she says, I'm going to serve 2 terms as Speaker, and she's going to get her agenda in there. Her agenda is disastrous for America. That's the Schumer agenda, and, of course, Joe Biden's agenda, if he even knows what his agenda is, and I'm being kind.
I look at the poll. I'm in the business, and I look at the polling, and they're just it's abysmal. They're going to lose bad in the House and Senate.
They are, and I don't think she'll be around for that. I think she'll retire before then. That's up to her.
That's going to be like the collapse of the Soviet Union. There's going to be chaos everywhere when she goes.
Well, yes, it is, because she is good at what she does.
Is good.
She demands discipline, and our party needs more discipline. There's no question. Chuck, how do you feel about this vote? Well, let me tell you, I'm against big government. I'm against socialism. I'm against this. I'm going to vote against that, okay? But we had some members actually join them with some votes. Not me, but that really disappointed me heartily, and I'm not going to get on TV.
And I don't even have to look at where they live. They're either on the outside of Baltimore or Philadelphia or New England, and they're in some of those prosperous.
But when you're helping their agenda, you're hurting this country, plain and simple.
I think you're right. Let's take another 3-minute break. Let's see what's going on. We appreciate all our sponsors, and we will talk more when we get back about Congress.
Ryan Spitzer has been a prosecutor in Anderson County since 2007, prosecuting more than 2,500 cases over the past decade. Ryan has been the Drug Task Force prosecutor for the past 7 years. Ryan donates time working with local nonprofits. A veteran, Ryan spent 6 years serving his country as an Army medic in the National Guard. Ryan is a family man who works hard every day to keep Anderson County families safe. Experience matters.
What if one day you went to your secret hiding place and instead of what you came for, you found this? What would you do? The truth is, all drug use comes with risk. Before drugs take their toll on you and your family, know that there is help. You can quit. If you or someone you love is struggling with drug use, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, or go to samhsa.gov/knowtherisks.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Judge Roger Miller is sponsoring tonight's program. Judge Miller is a lifetime resident of Anderson County. Judge Miller has adjudicated over 30,000 cases, both civil and criminal. Judge Miller is looking forward to continuing to serve Anderson County.
Hello, I'm District Attorney General Dave Clark. My fellow DAs and I successfully fought for new elder abuse laws and procedures that have police departments and agencies using improved tools to protect our seniors. Victims of elder abuse are often unable to recognize or report abuse themselves. They need your voice. If you suspect abuse, contact local law enforcement or adult protective services. Let's work together to protect our seniors.
Welcome back to Between the Lines. It's Thanksgiving evening, and we're talking to Congressman Chuck Fleischmann, who is being passionate about his beliefs on these things so far. He's frustrated.
Indeed.
All right, go ahead.
Well, our country is in a difficult spot, Alan, and I go up there and I represent over 700,000 East Tennesseans who are great God-fearing, God-loving people who believe in our Constitution, who believe in our armed forces, who have a great sense of fiscal responsibility. Let's face it, our great Tennessee Constitution, which prohibits a state income tax, thank God, which requires a balanced budget, thank God, because you've got to. It's the inherent nature of government to overspend, to overtax, and to overcontrol. And the best way to limit government is to do it constitutionally. And right now, we are run amok in this country. And the trio of Biden, Schumer, and Pelosi and their minions are literally taking our country in a direction that we really cannot afford, not only fiscally, but from a sense of constitutional freedoms. It's just wrong.
I agree 100%. So, will the Democrats be able to, let's talk about some different concepts here.
Sure.
Gun control, I haven't heard much about. They're kind of staying away from that.
They'll never get there. They want to try, okay, but the Second Amendment, a great solid part of our United States Constitution and our great Bill of Rights, fundamental, I think, to our constitutional freedoms. The Democrats will try to erode that every way they can, but they will fail.
They got
in
problems.
that
Like
regard.
you get a Bernie
Yes.
Sanders who's got hunting in Vermont, and he's a member. You got some Democratic people that live in states like that are not going to constrict guns.
And we've got the courts. I can't see any common sense judge who looks at the true meaning of the United States Constitution and that Second Amendment. But we've got to fight that fight. They're in that fight. They've got that group, but that's one of their weaker arguments. We need to beat them on that, but
we will
lose
beat them
that
on
fight.
Well, they got, and they never go for small victories. They think they can.
That's right.
That's their problem.
They're going big, and when they go big, like they are with this reconciliation bill, this what they would call this great social justice bill, we'll never get rid of it if they enact it. And even though it is not paid for, hear me out, it is not paid for. It's fiscally irresponsible. Once they bake it into the cake, you never get rid of it, and you're going to be stuck with that into the future. And what they'll do a lot of times is they will remove, like they did with Dodd-Frank. Think about that. When they passed Dodd-Frank, they removed constitutional congressional oversight from that bill.
Tell everybody what Dodd-Frank was one more time. Some people don't know about Dodd-Frank.
Dodd-Frank was the second great disaster of the Obama administration, the first one being Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, a disaster then, a disaster now, and guess what? If you don't believe me, ask liberals. That's why they want Medicare for all. They will never stop until they erode everything. They want total control, federal control of the healthcare system. We can never allow that to happen. Dodd-Frank was their foray into the financial markets. It's the financial regulation bill that created the CFPB, another horrible agency, going in and basically having federal control, federal bureaucratic control, without constitutional oversight from Congress, trying to control our financial sector. Should have never been passed.
And what were some of the damaging things that they did with that?
Oh my gosh, the CFPB, they created this
acronym, CFPB, what is that? Some financial board?
It is a federal agency that basically, quote unquote, oversees financial transactions, everything from debt collection and the like. My gosh, we've got a judicial system. We've got other laws that protect us with consumers and things like that. It is basically about control. When you talk about the Democratic Party right now, they want federal control over everything, including elections. We can never let that happen.
We're going to get to that.
We can never let that happen. We saw the debacle the last time they tried to control everything. They've passed it in the House. It hasn't passed in the Senate. We can never allow that to happen. We've got to make sure that the American people have a restored confidence in elections, whether at the local, state, or federal level. It's not there, Alan.
It's funny because we have a mutual friend in Chattanooga who ran for school board 2 years ago.
Okay.
And that individual, we averaged between 3,000 and 5,000 votes an election in that thing. I analyzed and polled a little bit. And we expected 4,000 to 5,000, 6,000. We ended up with 10,000 votes in that election, and 3,000 of those harvested ballots came out of apartments, places that they had never voted before. These people had never voted in an election, registered them, filled out their ballots, and did it. So that's what you're talking about. Those kind of voting systems need to go away. COVID's over. We need to get back to basics.
I want every legal American who has the right to vote to be able to vote one time and have that counted one time for whomever they vote for. Now, I don't think it's too much to ask for if somebody shows up to vote, that they show a proper ID, that they show that they are a valid elector. These sanctuary cities where they're allowing illegals to vote sometimes in school board elections, ladies and gentlemen, that is not the United States of America. That is not our Constitution. That is a road to lawlessness, and it's got to be stopped. And that's why, if we continue to erode, I heard it in the state of Georgia, we got 2 liberal Democratic United States senators that are the bane of the Senate's existence right now for Republicans, let's face it. And why? Because a lot of Republicans said, I'm not going to go to the polls and vote because my vote is not going to count. I was begging people to go vote. But if you erode credibility in the system, and that's what the Democrats want to do, and it is eroded, what will happen? Republicans, independents sometimes will say, I'm not going to go vote. I will not do it because my vote's not going to count. I'm telling you, we've got to come out and vote. We've got to be heard. But now, I want no voter suppression. I want to make sure, whether it's my African-American brothers or sisters of color, anybody who wants to vote, come out and vote one time legally. But we've got to get it right. Great erosion.
But you've got problems. We have we'll call them political leaders, political hacks, whatever, within Hamilton County who are out there pushing mail-in voting and everything else. I mean, within our own party, we're fighting over what the rules should be.
Well, that's true. But I would much rather have state and local control over that than federal control. Because if we allow what the Democratic Party wants to do, and they're bold about it. They want federal control of every aspect of elections. I mean, it's insane some of the things they're talking about. They're talking about allowing, think about this, candidates, somebody like myself, a candidate to actually pay themselves money while they're running.
Saw that.
It's unbelievable in this country.
So they could
So
campaign.
you're going to get John Q. Bum, who's running, who can't get elected, who raises money and can pay himself $5,000 out of his
And
campaign
the same
funds.
Democrats want to put somebody in jail because their sister was on some kind of board or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's shocking. We've got to take back our freedoms in this country peacefully, rationally, but the things that are coming out of Washington right now are shocking to the conscience, and I think it's sad. I think the American public know it, but they are just so tired of the political games and the power grabs in Washington. It's almost as if the poor American citizen has been beaten over the head so much by the Washington bureaucrats that they basically want to give up. We can never give up. We've got to take the fight back and win this fight.
I think you're exactly right. Tell me about, we have 435, or is it
435.
435
voting members. We have other members from some of our protectorates that do not have a vote on the floor. They can vote in committee.
Tell me about, isn't that interesting, like Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, American Samoa, yes.
They can't vote overall.
They can't vote on the House floor. They can vote in committee, and they can speak on the House floor. And these are wonderful people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice people.
A lot of Republicans in those areas, aren't there?
Absolutely. We have elected in Puerto Rico a Republican member.
How many members in Puerto Rico? One?
One.
Okay, so we have a Republican there.
Yeah.
After all
District of Columbia has a Democratic member who cannot vote on the floor but can vote in committee. I disagree with a very nice lady, Miss Holmes. Know her well.
And I think it's important for everybody to know that, and having worked there and having worked with you and different people, and I always tell the story about going down the hall and seeing ALC and talking. I mean, 90% of the stuff that goes on is cooperative. You're not attacking Democratic members. You're attacking the overall policies of the leadership.
The agenda.
You have an outstanding
That's right.
relation. If I talked to 10 Dems in Congress, you would be in their top 10% of people they like.
I love people. I love the people
do.
of this country, and I respect the fact that people who agree with me and people who disagree with me have stepped up to serve, because it's not easy. They've left their lives, as I did, whether it was a practicing attorney, business person, to go up
And
there.
contrary to public opinion,
Yes.
your wealth is going down while others are going up.
Indeed, indeed. As one of our great local judges here in Anderson County has said, either I'm very stupid or very honest, and
that's good.
so I conceded to him. I said perhaps a little of both,
Yeah,
but that's
true.
great.
Well, there's not as many opportunities. I don't know. I think it's a challenge for our Republican Party and the Democrats in their own way. But we've got to find ways to work together and do things. But with that proposed agenda, there's not much to.
There's not. Their agenda is agenda of big government, big spending, big federal control, higher taxes, unconscionable regulations, more power that they want to shift to federal bureaucrats. I think everything that is antithetical against what our founding fathers wanted and the great values that made this country great and grow and boom. When you think about it, we came out of World War I strong. Then we had the Great Depression. But coming out of World War II, the United States, and in this great community, the Oak Ridge, Anderson, Roane County communities, I mean, we led the world with the Manhattan Project. I mean, truly great stories of patriotism, and some of the folks who are still living to this day, the great stories.
I was at the soup kitchen here in town. They put all these old papers up, and I was sitting in the booth, and it said, Oak Ridge bombs Japan.
That's right. My dad was serving the American Army in Burma, and they came to him and they said they dropped a bomb on the island of Japan and it disappeared. That's how he first found out about the atomic bomb. It was just an interesting time, but we emerged from World War II as the world's leader of democracy and freedom, the bastion of freedom for the world, and the greatest economic power. And guess what? We did win the Cold War against the evil empire of the Soviet Union. They are gone. That would have been something in my lifetime 30 years ago I would have never thought would have happened.
Yeah. Well, you know, there was always an economic threat to it. I mean, it was always the point that they kind of like Rome. They got a little bit too spread out, the Afghan wars and everything, and then they just didn't have the resolution locally. Historically, I think it was almost inevitable.
And Ronald Reagan, that great American president who I met in 1982 when I was a freshman in college and told me to go out and work hard, play by the rules, and love this country and you'll do well. I never forgot that. Great man. He stood up to the evil empire. What did the Democrats want then? They wanted freezes. Remember, they wanted nuclear freezes. They wanted détente and the like. They said they wanted to take us again in the wrong direction. He stood up to them and he said, when we basically ramp up our defenses, they'll never be able to keep up with us. And guess what? They couldn't. They collapsed.
We'll be right back in 2 minutes. We're going to talk about Donald Trump and his future and a few other things that have to do with politics. And
was with our great former president for about 2 weeks ago, and then a week before that, great visit.
He's active. Okay, let's take a break, Brad. Thank you.
Ryan Spitzer has been a prosecutor in Anderson County since 2007, prosecuting more than 2,500 cases over the past decade. Ryan has been the Drug Task Force prosecutor for the past 7 years. Ryan donates time working with local nonprofits. A veteran, Ryan spent 6 years serving his country as an Army medic in the National Guard. Ryan is a family man who works hard every day to keep Anderson County families safe. Experience matters.
What if one day you went to your secret hiding place and instead of what you came for, you found this? What would you do? The truth is, all drug use comes with risk. Before drugs take their toll on you and your family, know that there is help. You can quit. If you or someone you love is struggling with drug use, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, or go to samhsa.gov/know-the-risks.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Roger Miller is a conservative and lifetime resident of Anderson County who has served as Sessions Judge since 2014. Judge Miller has adjudicated more than 30,000 cases, both civil and criminal, over the past 7 years. Roger is a graduate of Clinton High School, and he volunteers time coaching youth sports and serving as an instructor. A paramedic for 12 years, Roger worked saving lives at the Anderson County EMS, MedFlight 5, and Methodist Medical Center. In 2022, let's re-elect Roger Miller, General Sessions Judge.
Hello, I'm District Attorney General Dave Clark. My fellow DAs and I successfully fought for new elder abuse laws and procedures that have police departments and agencies using improved tools to protect our seniors. Victims of elder abuse are often unable to recognize or report abuse themselves. They need your voice. If you suspect abuse, contact local law enforcement or adult protective services. Let's work together to protect our seniors.
We're here for our final segment of this show, Between the Lines on Thanksgiving night, and we do give thanks, and thank God we live in a country that founded on those principles of a creator.
And we can do this, exactly what you and I are doing, Alan, and I know you love this country, that we can sit in our great country under the First Amendment, and your representative can be here and espouse ideas, and people can say, hey, I like that, or guess what, I don't.
That's right. That's exactly right. Let's talk about the man himself for a second. I mean, positive, negative, whatever you want to say. Everybody's got a different opinion, but most people in East Tennessee like President Trump.
Absolutely.
And I like President Trump. I liked him when I read The Art of the Deal in 1985 when he put it out. My famous line in there is, he wrote in the book, it said, and when you read it, you go back and reread The Art of the Deal. It's so much like him. You know, he's so much. But he talks about when Hilton died, Connor Hilton died, and, he was so mad at his kids, he left $400 million to the Sisters of Mercy.
Wow.
He left the money to the Sisters of Mercy. So it was a legal contention on both sides, right? And he said he watched it, and there was a settlement eventually, obviously, between the Order of the Nuns and whatever, devout Catholic family, and, of course, Paris's granddaughter and different. But it's so funny because in the end, President Trump says, the one message I got from all of this is you never litigate with nuns. He said, it got in my life. He used to have breakfast with O'Connor all the time, every week at St. Patrick's Cathedral when he's a businessman. He always had this breadth of understanding. You went down to see him in Florida 2 weeks ago, had a nice chat with him around the dinner hour for an hour. How did he go? How's he doing?
Went very well. He's in great spirits. I went down
71.
to Mar-a-Lago.
Who shoots a 71? Anybody can shoot their age is phenomenal.
Yes, he had played golf, I think, with Gary Palmer. It was one of the great golf greats. Goes back to the Nicholas Trevino Palmer era, and that's true. He's
Gary Player.
Gary Player. Yeah. And so he had played with Player. President asked me if I played golf, and truth be known, since I've been in this job serving the great people of the 3rd District of Tennessee, I haven't had the time to touch a golf
I want everybody in this viewing area to understand that he never played golf seriously.
Hey, there's the interlock, like Nicholas, okay? Not the Varden. So be that as it may, I forgot to ask him what he uses, interlock or Varden, so I ask everybody that.
How's he doing politically?
He's doing well. Very upbeat. He's out and about. He's helping people. Of course, he did.
Got to be relaxed to be out of that job.
Yes.
Lost a lot of weight.
He's in tremendous shape, tremendous spirits, very positive, and like myself, concerned about the direction that the Democratic leadership is taking this country. Trump loves this country. I love this country. I will give Donald Trump credit for something. He expanded our party. I never saw a time where union workers, other just common folks who had never voted before came to the process. Really a true American populist. And we've had populists on both sides, left and right, in this country. William Jennings Bryan in our history and people like that.
John Kennedy.
Yeah, that's right.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
You could argue they were populists as well.
No question.
But Trump is a populist of the right, conservative populist, and very, very well thought of.
I think so.
Yep.
And I think his role, of course, when you're 75 years old, you take it 1 year at a time. But I think his role will be influential, whatever he decides to do.
Sure. And I don't know what he's going to do.
Somebody said, I was reading yesterday where I heard that President Biden's thinking about running for a second term.
Yes, that's what he said. So it's going to be interesting. But we've got to get active out there and really start looking again at the basic constitutional fundamentals that set up our great republic, that allowed our country to do so well and prosper, particularly economically. And I go back to this point again, Alan, whether I'm on Fox, Newsmax.
You're all over the national.
I'm all over the national about the fact that we need our economic freedoms because they're part and parcel tied to our political freedoms. You can't have one without the other. Right. And when the other party erodes that, whether it's with regulations, taxation, undue burdens, trying to take away and strangle the American dream, punishing the American entrepreneur, we've got to get back and take that American man or woman who wants to go out and pursue the American dream and give them that shot.
90-second roundtable on these issues. I don't have time to deliberate.
Sure.
We've got about 6 or 7 minutes left on this show. And if you come back next week, we're going to talk about the region, redistricting in the region.
Absolutely.
Let me give you a term, and you just give me a 90-second response.
COVID, still there, sadly, surprisingly, has hurt our country, has hurt the world. The American response has been better than any country in the world. Getting the vaccines, whether you want them or not, that should be your choice. But we've done a good job as a nation compared to the rest of the world.
And I think America just said enough. I mean, this is my read on. I was talking to the show to a COVID person. I said, look, when you say you 12 need to wear a mask when you're going out here, and my company requires it, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and then they fill up Neyland Stadium with 100,000 people, it becomes a moot point.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a moot point. Jury nullification. The people in America have just said that's enough. We gave you a year, we're not giving you 2.
Yes.
And you know what's so funny? It goes up and down, but the death rate overall is the same.
Yes, and my heart does go out. I've known people who passed due to COVID. I've known people who have not recovered fully from COVID. Thank God I had it. I got over it quick, but as you know, I play baseball, I play football. Now
you complained a lot when you were sick, though, because I talked to you almost every day.
I complained a lot because
I hate
I
this
with people. Yeah, because I had to sit on a couch and watch
that's
retro
the problem
TV.
right there.
So,
and it was right in the middle of all the January fireworks.
It was.
I remember that.
I watched the inauguration from a couch, and you
got stuck in D.C. You didn't. They wouldn't let you come home to be sick.
Wouldn't let me come home.
I remember that.
Stuck on the couch for 2 weeks. Thank God, full recovery.
Okay, so that's COVID. Let's try this. Let's try this thing because I'm looking at my time and figuring it out. Just taxation real quick. Where are we going on taxation?
The wrong direction if the Democrats win. We've got to lower taxes, lower regulation. That money belongs to the American people, not the American government. We've got to get rid of estate taxes altogether. We're taxed enough when we're alive. We don't need to be taxed when we're dead. Get the federal government off our backs.
All right. China.
China, the strongest adversary the American nation faces. We can complain about Russia and all these other countries. China's out there to play hard, and that is our competition, whether we're here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, or in the world realm.
What about Russia? Where's Russia at?
Russia is trying under Putin. They're trying to make a comeback. They've had some marginal gains, but they don't have the depth financially or the strength that China does.
No, not even close.
No.
So the big question mark in all this for me is India.
India, a populous country that has done very well, got their independence from Great Britain as a prize for their support of the Allies in World War II. The country has done exceedingly well, growing middle class, nuclear power, doing exceedingly well, developing actually thorium reactors like the Chinese that were what? Come from Oak Ridge in the 60s, Dr. Weinberg. America has gone the different direction. So India
can India be an economic challenger to China?
Yes.
They got a lot of people.
The big population, they can certainly play. It's going to be interesting to see where they go politically and socially. But yes, India has clearly become a main player, I think largely due to the growth of their middle class.
Well, that's always the situation. You got to have money. But you've got one of our most popular guests, Sean Williams of PSI, very smart internationally. You know him.
Fantastic. Great American.
He really had some things to say about climate change, which is my last subject. He said it really is real enough that the shifts in climate change are affecting populations, and it's not something that necessarily he's advocating tremendous things, but he's saying you're going to see some disassociation with people. And he also talked about migrations and European migration and oil, that there would be some major changes in the world.
On climate change, I will say this.
Okay.
If the United States is going to engage in agreements, we've got to make sure that the rest of the world, China, Russia, India, are compliant. It's ridiculous policy to make us beholden to these international agreements and give other countries a pass. It's a fiction. They will continue to pollute. We will continue to sink. So, again, bad deals that President Trump got us out of. Unfortunately, President Biden has chosen to get us back in. Unbelievable. Paying the World Health Organization money to get back in when they clearly favored other countries in their policies. I think that's wrong. I think it's taking our country in the wrong direction. But on climate change, again, don't make us beholden to deals when the rest of the world gets passed.
I have a 16-year-old son I watch. I watch everybody. And
fine young man, Caleb.
Well, and to be disclaimer, to give her honestly, Chuck is his godfather. So, and I hold totally responsibility as moral characters.
Indeed.
Is in your hands.
I remember that wonderful ceremony.
It was great.
It was beautiful.
God bless Father B. He did a wonderful job.
He did a wonderful job.
He's in Johnson City now. So
anyway, well.
So the issue, though, in the end, I think is that change is coming. Electric cars are coming. It's like my son told my wife, I want to put my money in Tesla last year, right? So he did, and he made a little money, and she said, no, this is crazy. It needs to be in a bank account like normal parents would be, where you'll have access to it. So he sold at $598. It's $1,100 a day, and he points it out to his mother every day. I'd lost double my money if I'd stayed in. My point jokingly is, is that, and she did the right thing. She wanted him to be not take a risky thing. But my point is, electric cars are coming. I mean, everything's coming. The world's changing. The technology's coming. You can talk about fossil fuels, which I support, but in the end, we're going to evolve out of that. I can't see any way these kids stay with that stuff.
I support all of the above, fossil fuels, nuclear, and the like. And the best linchpin to the show is right here in Oak Ridge, in Anderson and Roane counties. We are leading the world in technology, whether it's nuclear development, energy storage, and the like. Oak Ridgers are going to do what they have done for decades. Not only lead our great country, but lead the world. And that's why I'm so proud to be a representative.
Chattanooga's leading the battery room. I read where the Secretary... 5 seconds, we're going to go, but we're going to come back next week and talk about the region and what's going on and everything. We appreciate you. Thank you for watching.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.